James Edward Jennings was born July the 10th, 1933 in Sulphur Springs, Texas. His mother and father, Nora and Eugene, raised James and his two sisters on the family farm. After a stint in the U.S. Navy where he served as a parachute rigger, James became a Dallas police officer in the 1950s. Jennings was on duty in 1963 when President John F. Kennedy was shot. He was assigned to guard Jackie Kennedy at Parkland Memorial Hospital. In 1960, a rodeo producer asked James, who was then riding and calling drill for the Mesquite Quadrille, if he'd like to announce the FFA rodeo in Jacksonville, Texas. James accepted and thus began what would be decades of announcing. After Jacksonville, James became the go-to announcer for the Central Rodeo Association, the Southern Rodeo Association, the International Rodeo Association, and later on the Rodeo Cowboys Association and the Pro Rodeo Cowboys Association. Before joining the RCA, James announced rodeos all over Texas and the Southwest. Some of his stops included Graham, Palestine, Fort Worth, Durant, Oklahoma, Okeechobee, Florida, and many, many more. Early on, some of the rodeo producers that James worked for were Roland Reed, Sloan Williams, Jack Aiken, and Wayne McBride. At his early announcing jobs, James was responsible for providing his own equipment. He would often arrive early and mount his speakers to a pole or on the roof of the announcing booth. He ran wires from the speakers to a 35-watt amp and was hooked up to an old 45 turntable. During the grand entry, some of James's favorite songs to play were Eyes of Texas and the Orange Blossom Special. After joining the RCA in 1966, Jennings began announcing at the Mesquite Championship Rodeo. He would announce Mesquite off and on until 2004. James was also the voice of the Cotton Bowl for 36 years, voice of the Oklahoma Sooners for 5 years, and the Dallas Cowboys Stadium announcer from 1968 to 1988. Out of the announcer's booth, James was involved in numerous clubs and civic organizations, including Fellowship of Christian Athletes and the Dallas All Sports Association. James also served 3 terms on the Dallas School Board. Later in life, James enjoyed traveling and speaking with groups about the day that Kennedy died. He and his wife Linda also wrote a book called Touring Texas Towns and Some That Ain't. At the time of James's death in 2004, the book was in its 3rd printing. James is survived by his wife Linda and children Cynthia, Jim, Sharon, Angie, and Stephen. James will forever be remembered for his golden voice and Texas pride. James Jennings, 2010 Texas Cowboy Hall of Fame inductee.